Caution. This video is being recorded on Tuesday night, November 13th, 2018 at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Meaning in just 1 hour is the go-home episode of SmackDown prior to this Sunday's Survivor Series pay-per-view. With that said, after returning just 2 weeks ago from Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea, welcome to this week's episode of John's Wrestling Views. I am John. Again, I just got back from the cruise a couple weeks ago now. I've had time to kind of regain my thoughts. And the few days I was gone, I cannot recall a single time where I was away on a trip where I had to miss not just Raw, not just SmackDown, not just NXT, but also a WWE pay-per-view where while I was gone, I would think, oh man, I'm really missing out. I can't wait to get home to watch these things. That did not happen for me this time. And there's a combination of reasons for that. You know, I went on the cruise and Chris Jericho made his voice clear to everyone on that cruise. He said, you know, you're going to have so many people telling you so many rules between Six Man and Norwegian, the cruise line, on how to be on the cruise. And he goes, I only have one rule, and that is to make sure this is the best vacation of your lifetime. And I'm not just saying this to promote the cruise. With that said, if there is a Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at C2, better believe I will be there and recommend to all my friends, everyone watching this video, especially if you didn't go to this year's cruise, be a part of it. It is something like no other. But I can safely say, not even just by taking Chris Jericho's advice, not trying to sound corny or anything, but it really was the best vacation I've ever been on for so many reasons. I've never been on a cruise before, so it was great first cruise experience. With that said, I kind of wish that my first cruise would have been just a normal, non-themed cruise, because now I don't know if I'm going to enjoy cruises as much in the future if there's not a theme. But that's beside the point. Point is, I will be back at least on the next Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea, and if I can afford it, I'll keep going as much as I can. It was a time of my life. So I miss all these WWE shows. I miss Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Evolution, and thanks to the WWE Network and other various means of getting content out there, I did eventually go back and watch most of what I missed. But I wasn't really eager to do that. I got back that night and I watched Evolution and I thought, you know, this is okay. It's great for the women. This is the first ever all-women's pay-per-view, so good for them. And Becky Lynch and Charlotte in their last woman standing absolutely tore the house down. But I was on a cruise with, quite frankly, a lot of the greatest wrestlers in wrestling today. There's some WWE Hall of Famers, sure, but Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, Kenny Omega, so some of New Japan, Chris Jericho, that's where it was at for me. And there was a lot of wrestling on the cruise. And if you didn't get a chance to watch on Fight TV the Streaming for Vengeance pay-per-view, not to be like any of those podcasters, Chris Jericho, JR, Colt Cabana, who would be on their podcast talking about how great of a time they had. Is it part of their job to say that? Probably not. Of course they want to promote it, but no, it truly was a great time. And there was a lot of wrestling, which was great for any wrestling fan, of course. I watched all of it. And was every match the best match I'd ever seen? No. Were there quite a bit of good matches? Yes. So yeah, if you haven't had the chance to watch a Streaming for Vengeance pay-per-view on the Fight TV app, do yourself a favor. Go purchase it. Watch it if you still can. Because it was fantastic. I did feel like the pay-per-view kind of took away some of the real moments that we experienced on the cruise just from the matches. but it was still great. So I'm on this huge high of wrestling from Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea. And I come back home, I watch Evolution, I watch Raw, and it was, to be quite frank, hugely promoting the Crown Jewel pay-per-view that came on the following Friday in Saudi Arabia. And here's the problem with that. It was an okay show. You know, there are legal issues that I'm not going to talk about here, but it was okay. The Brothers of Destruction and DX main event, Triple H gets a nasty-looking injury. Hopefully the recovery goes well for him, but WWE spent so much time promoting Crown Jewel, it definitely outshined Evolution as far as the promotion time going into it. And here's WWE's problem with that. You have Survivor Series just a couple weeks away. One of the big 4 pay-per-views of the year that they always talk about. And especially for being that caliber of a pay-per-view, you gave yourself next to no time to build up Survivor Series. And so here's my thoughts on Survivor Series. You know, it's the same format as it's been the last 2 years. Raw versus SmackDown, everything. Champions versus champions. 5-on-5, best of Raw's men versus best of SmackDown's men. 5-on-5, best of Raw's women versus best of SmackDown's women. 5-on-5, 5 of Raw's tag teams against 5 of SmackDown's tag teams. I think the tag team division in general in WWE right now could use some work, but that's beside the point. But that match is good enough to make the pre-show. You have 2-3 weeks that you really have to build Survivor Series. And the only match I really felt was built right was Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey for this Sunday. I am so excited to see this match. The promos back and forth, they're really the only real promos for any matches going into this Sunday. And they're putting it all out there. And, I mean, Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey have been stealing the show in women's matches lately anyway. They are going to have a phenomenal match this Sunday as long as everything goes right with it. My prediction, Ronda Rousey gets the win. But again, they've done everything right promoting this, including up until Raw last night, where they were focused on the 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series women's match, and Alexa Bliss was announcing her team of primarily all heels: Tamina, Nia Jax, Ruby Riott, Mickie James, and Natalya, who wasn't there at that point. And you stray away from the scene going on in the ring just of Alexa Bliss saying, "Yay, Raw women, we're going to win," and Bayley and Sasha Banks aren't good enough for my team. And you go backstage and you hear this screaming, and it's Ronda Rousey who's been put in Becky Lynch's disarm her. Yes, they did an angle similar last year with the Siege, and I get it, but this was needed. This was needed to really promote Survivor Series. It was needed to continue to promote the women, especially if you're looking at a possible WrestleMania main event of women in the near future. And this was the perfect way to do that. Do I think that Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey is the main event this Sunday? No. Do I think it's deserving of the main event? For the most part, yes. The only reason I say no overall is because it's most likely going to be the 5-on-5 men's Survivor Series match, which again, with having very little time to really promote that match, I love the idea of a traditional Survivor Series elimination match, but I don't think this really takes the cake of the best thing we see this Sunday. AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar, again, not a lot of promotion work. It's just a traditional champion versus champion. The only match they did right with the champion versus champion concept is Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey. AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar. It's going to be, hopefully, if they do this right, one of those Brock Lesnar matches that you actually want to see, that you're not disappointed if you're looking for a halfway decent match from the guy. Just look at their match last year at Survivor Series. Now, here's the thing. Brock Lesnar won that match at Survivor Series last year. And yes, I am one of those fans who, I'm sick of Lesnar. I'm sick of him being champion. I get it, especially with Roman Reigns being out. But they need to let AJ Styles get that victory this year. Do I think they will? Not necessarily. Brock Lesnar seems to be Vince's golden boy, and that he gets his way quite a bit. And in return, we see a lot of wins, most of which the common wrestling fan gets sick of. Fun fact for you, this was brought to my attention by my best friend, but since WrestleMania 34... so just this last WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar and AJ Styles have each only been pinned once in singles competition. So this Sunday at Survivor Series, assuming there's a winner, that streak should be broken, and one of those two men will get pinned for a second time. Which makes me once again fear the idea that Brock Lesnar is going to win. Fingers crossed that they give AJ the victory, but I don't know. Here's the number one thing that's really disappointing me going into this Sunday's Survivor Series, and that is you have what should be a fantastic match between the United States Champion and the Intercontinental Champion, Shinsuke Nakamura for SmackDown versus Seth Rollins from Raw, and they've done nothing to promote this match. Shinsuke Nakamura, we haven't seen him on TV a whole lot, and we see Seth Rollins, but he's constantly complaining about Dean Ambrose, and then Dean Ambrose is attacking him or throwing Seth Rollins' vests in the fire. Where's the story? I get it, you're leading to a bigger picture post-Survivor Series, but where's the story for Shinsuke and Seth Rollins? You have a great match and you're really not talking about it at all? On top of which, I think Shinsuke gets the win this Sunday. Because Shinsuke doesn't have anything else he's worried about storyline-wise when you have Ambrose who's leering in the background everywhere. Do I think Ambrose causes a disqualification in the match? No, but I think Seth Rollins is going to be too preoccupied, lose the match, and then we'll probably see Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose at TLC. So again, WWE, I get it, you didn't have a lot of time, but you needed to do a better job promoting this Sunday's pay-per-view. The Authors of Pain against the Bar, Tag Team Champions versus Tag Team Champions. Thank you, Drake Maverick. Because if you didn't cut a promo that was only good enough for the internet the other night, there'd be no hype going into this match either. You have a heel team on Raw versus a heel team on SmackDown, and no story. If you want to talk about WWE that's doing a great job promoting their pay-per-view with telling stories besides Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey, TakeOver War Games this Saturday is, for the most part, the best way to do that. The Johnny Gargano, Aleister Black feud, pretty interesting, which overall takes a time span of months. Aleister Black gets hurt. Let's make a storyline out of it. Who attacked Aleister Black? Johnny Gargano's been frustrated. Hey, we can have a great match between two great athletes this Saturday at War Games, and then the War Games match itself between the Undisputed Era against the War Raiders, Pete Dunne and Ricochet. Guys, if last year's War Games match was any indicator, I think this one even blows last year's match out of the water, which was a fantastic match. But you have 8 great athletes in there. I'm not going to make any predictions, but that could be in all honesty, it could be the best match of the weekend. So, kudos to WWE for a couple good storytelling techniques, but you got some work to do. I cannot get over how great the Cruise was. I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record talking about it. I'm not going to go in depth as much into the matches. A lot of them were fun. A lot of matches didn't make the pay-per-views just for the Cruise audience and were there to be fun. But Flip Gordon, if I were to give out an award for Superstar of the Month in pro wrestling right now, Flip Gordon takes that. After his phenomenal showing at the Cruise, Whether some people like my friend Chris Russo thinks he was overused and used too much on the cruise and they were tired of seeing him. I never got tired of him. Flip Gordon, great athlete, huge future, huge bright future in front of him. And again, the cruise proved my point even more. And then I go on to watch Ring of Honor the following weekend, and he's taking all these Singapore cane lashings from Bully Ray, which, yes, was very reminiscent of Raven and Tommy Dreamer, I believe, in ECW way back when. But Flip Gordon's future, very bright. I hope he makes it into WWE one day, if that's his ultimate goal. But wherever he makes it, I think he's got quite a future for him. Guys, if you want some of the best wrestling right now, Ring of Honor, the quality isn't as good as WWE. So if you're looking for quality of like productions, yes, WWE may be your best bet. But otherwise, Ring of Honor, that's where I suggest watching. You know, New Japan's doing some great things. Chris Jericho's got a big IWGP Intercontinental Championship match coming in the Tokyo Dome this January 4th against Naito. I'm going to be watching Wrestle Kingdom. I'm excited. Impact Wrestling, I haven't watched in a long time. The Cruise made me interested. I liked seeing Brian Cage, who I hadn't really got to see enough of before. It's great seeing Johnny Impact again. A lot of people know him as John Morrison. I'm not going to talk a lot about Impact because I need to give it more of a try. Ring of Honor, I will suggest any day of the week. Go and watch that. If you want some great wrestling, Ring of Honor is where it's at. TakeOver War Games this Saturday should be great. Yes, I will be watching Ring of Honor afterwards. I gotta watch my Ring of Honor every week. Survivor Series is Sunday. Let's hope for the best. Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey steal the show, in my opinion. If you're looking for great storytelling on top of a great match, that match is where it's at. In the meantime, I don't know when the next Chris Jericho's Rockin' Wrestling Rager at Sea is. I'm waiting like many other people. I'm waiting for the announcement. But I cannot recommend enough. If you can, go on it. You will not regret that decision. But until next time, thank you for watching. Have a good one.